Dell PCs with Intel inside are built for the moments that matter, for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. Built for the busy days that turn into all-night study sessions, the moment you're working from a cafe and realize every outlet's taken, the times you're deep in your flow, and the absolute last thing you need is an auto update throwing off your momentum. That's why Dell builds tech that adapts to the way you actually work, built with long-lasting battery so you're not scrambling for the closest outlet, and built-in intelligence that makes updates around your schedule, not in the middle of it. They don't build tech for tech's sake, they build it for you. Find technology built for the way you work at Dell.com/DellPCs. Built for you. This is Optimal Living Daily, The Deep Reset by Cal Newport of calnewport.com. And I'm your host and narrator, Justin Malik, reading articles every single day of the year, including weekends and holidays, pushing ourselves back on the right path. So let's keep at it as we optimize your life. The Deep Reset by Cal Newport of calnewport.com. After 10 years of waging war against the Trojans, Odysseus, king of Ithaca, set out on the wine-dark sea to begin his journey home. Storms thwarted an easy return voyage, and Odysseus found himself facing many additional years of tragedy and adventure, reaching a mythical nadir when he's forced to descend into the underworld itself. Broken down and exposed, Odysseus resists collapse. He instead pulls himself out of Hades and, persevering through additional trials, finally makes it home to his island kingdom, only to find both his family and throne threatened by a conniving horde of suitors. He fights them off. But he's not done. Following a prophecy delivered to him by the ghost of Theban Tiresias in the underworld, Odysseus makes a humbling journey inland. He carries an oar, a symbol of the maritime world where he reigned, farther and farther from the sea until he arrives at a place where it's mistaken for a farming implement by locals who have never heard of crimson-painted ships or the well-shaped oars that serve as wings. It is here, stripped of any of the recognitions on which he had built his previous life, that he plants the oar in the ground and performs sacrifices to Poseidon before returning home to live out his life in peace. The story of Odysseus is a classical transrational myth, writes Richard Rohr in the underground classic Falling Upward. Quote, one that many would say sets the bar and direction for all later Western storytelling, end quote. And for good reason. It's one of the earliest extant works to describe a pattern absolutely fundamental to the human condition: hardship unlocking a deeper, more authentic, more satisfying life. As Rohr elaborates, Odysseus' journey is a metaphor for the proper human response to unexpected difficulty. His first response after arriving broken in the underworld is survival and progress. He makes his way out of Hades, perseveres through the trials that follow, and then once home, performs the work needed to get his life back in order. But then, and this is the key to the entire myth, he humbles himself on an inland journey where he ritually moves beyond the easy comforts of his old life, laying the foundation on which to build something more meaningful. Once it's brought to our attention, this pattern becomes visible everywhere. We see it in the travails of Dante and Augustine, and even Luke Skywalker. Carl Jung argued that this storyline is an archetype, engraved in the collective human unconscious, as unavoidably fundamental as our intuitive repulsion to snakes or attraction to courage. Whether its origin is divine or evolutionary, it represents revelation all the same. Which brings us to our current moment. To varying degrees of severity, we're all suffering through some version of Odysseus' tragic journey. Many, too many, are struggling with devastating consequences to their health or livelihoods. Like Odysseus surviving the storm that destroyed his fleet, for them, all energy is dedicated to perseverance in the moment. But for many others, including a large part of my audience here, the moment has brought severe dislocation to much of what we've come to trust and expect, but falls short of immediate peril. The question then is what those who find themselves in this situation, marooned on a Netflix-themed island of the Lotus Eaters, should do about it. We can shake our fists at the gods, as some are now acting out through increasingly furious and tragically futile battles fought on social media. We can cower, marinating in dread, as some are now doing as they glue themselves to catastrophic news coverage, giving in to genuflections of despair. Or like Odysseus, we can allow the disruption, painful as it is, spark the resolve needed to find our way out of the underworld, fight to get our affairs back in order, and then when the time comes, with a mix of humility and purpose, transform our lives into something deeper. Essentially, all of philosophy, theology, literature, and history implies that the Odysseus approach is the one for which we as humans are wired. The best response to deep disruption, in other words, is often a deep reset. This idea that we should allow our current dislocation to instigate a move toward the deep life is one that I've been implicitly exploring in recent posts. I thought it was useful, however, to give this impulse a name and some historical context because I intend to keep returning to it, among other topics, in the weeks ahead. I want to better understand how one acts on the impulse for the deep reset, while also acknowledging with an eye toward Homer that I'm hardly the first to ponder this ancient instinct. You just listened to the post titled The Deep Reset by Cal Newport of calnewport.com, and I'll be right back with my commentary. Tax season is one of the only times we look at our full financial picture, but Monarch helps me see where my money's going and where a tax refund will have the biggest impact because I want to make progress, not just wonder where it all went. Simplify your finances with Monarch. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool designed to make your life easier. It brings your entire financial life, budgeting, accounts and investments, net worth, and future planning together in one dashboard on your phone or laptop. Feel aware and in control of your finances this tax season and get 50% off your Monarch subscription with code LIVING. What I love is that Monarch keeps me focused on hitting real milestones, not just tracking spending. Its AI insights even surface hidden patterns, so I'm always planning ahead. Achieve your financial goals for good with Monarch, the all-in-one tool that makes money management simple. Use code LIVING at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off at monarch.com, code LIVING. I used to leave doctor's appointments feeling like I learned nothing. Just, you're fine, and out the door. That's why I'm excited about Superpower. They send a licensed professional to your home, or you visit a nearby lab, for one simple draw covering over 100 biomarkers, way more than a typical checkup. Their app breaks down everything from your heart and thyroid to hormones and metabolism, plus you get a personalized action plan. Head to superpower.com and use code OLD at checkout for $20 off your membership. Thank you to Cal. Thought this was a really interesting one. It's definitely different from what we typically hear on this show. The Odysseus thing is interesting because the point isn't just that he survived, it's what he did after. He got home, sorted things out, and then made this intentional journey to kind of shed his old identity. He put down the oar, started fresh, and only from there, something more meaningful could come about. I think most of us have been through something like this on a smaller scale. Could be a job loss, a breakup, a health scare, something that forces you off the track you were on. And in the moment, it feels pretty terrible. But looking back, for me at least, those are often the times that led to something better. And not in spite of what happened, but because of it. So if we can lean into those moments instead of just trying to get back to normal as fast as possible, they could be the start of something better and deeper. It reminds me of the common theme in this show of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. So if things feel a bit disrupted right now or have recently, maybe ask yourself, what good could this be the start of? And that'll do it for today. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for being here. And I'll see you tomorrow as usual, where your optimal life awaits.